Hello there, and welcome to the second episode of my quick tutorial series for Against the Storm. In this video, we're talking expansion, seasons, and the storm, and how to work around these. In the description box below, you'll find a playlist link if you want to see the entire series. These are all meant to be short things that give you a good feeling about game mechanics. In the previous episode, we have built ourselves a standard setup. Everybody has a home, we have collector camps for all the things that have spawned in the center clearing, and now we need to move forward. Up here, we see now that it's the clearance season of the year 1. Every year in this game is divided into 3 seasons, as you might already know. The storm season is the one season that's trying to kill you. In that season, these negative penalties will occur, depending on the hostility of the forest. So first up, I want to also mention that there is also a positive season, the drizzle season. During this, positive effects will be happening. So for example, we will gain money, amber is money, each drizzle season just for free. But on the other hand, the storm season is always a deadly one. Looming Darkness is the default debuff that will be always active when the storm sets in. That is, -4 resolve for each hostility level. Resolve is the resource over here. It's very simple. Once the resolve of a species hits 0, they start running away. And that is when you start losing the game, because every settler that runs away makes the queen less patient. If the queen's impatience meter down here is full, the mission is a failure. So keeping your people inside your city is really important. Also, there's now further bad things happening the more hostile the environment is. Quaking Bog will be only active from Hostility 2, and Melancholy will be only active from Hostility 3 on. So how does Hostility work? Hostility of the forest is generated by lots of different things. First up, the passing of time. So the longer we are here, the more hostile the forest. The hostility goes up every 100 points by 1 level. So that means currently we are still quite in a safe level here. I mean, Looming Darkness always applies the -4. It only applies extra -4 for each hostility level, so we will be, in this scenario, perfectly safe. Uncovering new glades, though, makes also more hostility, so expanding in itself is already something which makes the environment more hostile towards you. Woodcutters are also one of the major generators of hostility, and most importantly, people. The more people you are, the more hostile the environment is. But as long as this number is greater than 0, nothing bad will happen. Right. So far the resolve system in its basics, and the storm and the seasons. So when it comes down to expansion, you have several choices. There's dangerous glades, regular small glades, and forbidden glades. The Forbidden Glades are really dangerous places, and you should be well prepared, namely have a good economy and such, before you open them. Dangerous Glades include always a sort of a mini adventure that needs to be resolved, otherwise it will explode in your face in various degrees of mayhem. So we are going to open up today, as a first manner of things, one of those small glades. I have configured the woodcutters in a way that they will avoid every glade unless it's marked. So since we marked these, they're now directly running over there to chop them open, as you see there. Woodcutters are the lifeblood of your colony. They generate wood, which is fuel for your colony. Therefore, you have to have these. So you have a requirement for this hostility generator. Opening up new glades, I'm holding down B now to hover these things, gives you new resources. So for example, on this small glade, we have now discovered extra nodes of clay. This is insofar interesting as clay is what we need to generate bricks. This is good. Bricks are needed later down the road. Further expansion into this direction will be now done, because I want to know what's inside this dangerous glade. Don't worry too much about opening up dangerous glades. For one, eventually you'll have to, because look at the size difference. Small glades, dangerous glades. And when you check out now the cost, a small glade generates 8 hostility, whereas a dangerous clade doesn't even generate an almost double the amount. But if you compare the sizes, I think it's pretty easy to spot that you get way more than double the space. So that's the payoff. Let's talk about the dangerous clades now. As the next thing. We still have 2 people unemployed, which shouldn't be the case. You should always try to have everybody somehow employed. So we're putting these folks here under work to collect some. Over here we have now also the cornerstone selection, the orders, and the draft. This will be all topics for the next episode. Usually you would be going for these right off the bat. I just want to mention it if you notice it and you're like, I can't, you're cornerstones, you should be picking these now. I am well aware of this, but today I want to take things in an orderly fashion, you see. So, our dudes here are chopping their way open. There's not necessarily anything bad in opening up a dangerous glade during the storm season or such, not at all. You are working in this game always against the clock, because the longer the game goes, the worse it will be to stay alive. So, there's... yeah, you want to get forward, because all the resource nodes here are finite. Look at these clay nodes. They have a certain amount of charges. Most things in this game are finite. There's a couple of resources that are infinite, farming for example, water, but most of them are meant to be extracted, processed into something that gives you some either expansion or victory points. Victory points we're also going to be covering in a future episode. So there we are now on the first dangerous glade. When we hover over this, you see there's a much bigger array of rewards in here. So, holding down B yet again to highlight these. So, first up, we see here these large nodes. These are a blessing and a curse at the same time. You can't harvest them with small camps. You need to find the blueprint for a large camp. Then you have a very, very large source of finite food. Or you draft yourself a farm and use that fertile soil to have an infinite source of food. This here produces less per year, but is infinite, whereas this produces much more per year, but is finite, so you have to choose. You also can find caches here, which are either broken open by using various tools to gather yourself some resources, or you save them up until you have some tools to send them back to the Citadel, get yourself some victory points and some money. It's up to you. And most importantly, the center of attention here, a glade event. So glade events always have 2 different resolutions how you can take them. Either one direct approach to destroy it or to keep it. Most of the time it's something like that. So if we don't work with this one, it will destroy all building materials that we have stored after the passage of 13 minutes. This is one of the most harmless things that could happen. So basically we could even take our time until we want to do it, because unless we store any of these advanced materials, it's not going to be happening anything for us. But these events have escalation levels. So only because the first level was harmless doesn't mean that the next one will be too. So we're now going to opt for burning it down. And you see, that's one of the reasons why I always say don't use that starting coal. We're just going to put that starting coal in here, and during we're processing this event, as we see here, there will be this side effect. Most of the events there have nasty side effects. This one is a good example. So for example, if we're working to keep it, which would be pretty nifty because we would be getting a permanent income of insects via this. I mean, I could actually do this as well. You would be needing to have something going on that your resolve does not drop to 0 while you're doing this event. That is that. You have to plan ahead and mitigate the negative consequences of your solution. That is what it is. So, tell you what, I personally like this income per second per minute so much that we're going to do this here. So, we're going to unemploy the folks here. Right-click there, right-click there. And then we're going to tame the termites. Select this. And investigate. I bound just a big portion of my parts into this, but at the same time I also have created a permanent income source of food for my colony, which I personally valued quite more right now. It's really up to you how you choose for these things. There is never an ideal best solution that you should always strive for. It's always about analyzing what's currently good for us and what's currently not so good for us. So here you see your first storm season coming on over us. The resolve is dropping. And I want to explain here quickly. You see that here's that number, red arrow, then that number. Resolve doesn't immediately fall. There is a current resolve, that's the left number, and a target resolve, that's the right number. You see, currently the humans aren't as impressed by the storm yet. Eventually their resolve will drop down to 11. You can translate it like that. This is because species don't grow weary all equally fast. Reptiles, for example, the lizards, they lose their cool the slowest. They have a really long cooldown time, as you see there. The beavers are already at their target resolve, while these guys just lost 1 point. So there's a big difference between the cultures, and if you choose to go here, you have this favoring system. While favoring, you can increase the resolve of one species by 5 by diminishing the resolve of the other two by 5 as well. So it's a negative game at the end of the day. You have only a -5, but sometimes it can be life-saving. You can also sacrifice things in the hearth during the storm season. You can reduce hostility, for example, by sacrificing 40 wood per minute. This is very, very useful, but should be used as a emergency switch. It's nothing you should do lightly, because it's really destroying your resources in a fast speed. There are strategies which are exactly bound around sacrificing a ton of things, but in general, sacrificing should be a strategy that you should go for if all other methods fail, basically. It's sort of a last-ditch effort. Now then, so the storm season, when it's over, the next drizzle will begin, new people will arrive at your city, and you can do new orders. We will continue in the next episode and talk about the drafting system, orders, and how you move forward from here on. Because currently we can't do much more than produce stone, collect some food, and transform these things into some obscure building materials. Not much more. So how do you win the game? And such, I'll tell you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Drop me in the comments down below what you want to see in this series covered as well. I mean, I do have a script with things that I want to do, but it's always nice to have some feedback. Leave a like, leave a subscribe. It would be really nice to have you folks. Like I said initially, in the description box there's a playlist link to the entirety of these videos. Also, many thanks to all of you supporters of Icon Gaming. I really appreciate you folks. You have also a couple of links down there if you want to follow on in. I deeply appreciate. And last but not least, I want to say thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it and found something useful out of it. See you all hopefully on the next one. Bye bye.